start. Ben, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight's agenda, we have the public hearing on an ordinance amending the 2020 budget for revenue and expenditures not anticipated as part of that budget. We'll also have a public hearing on an ordinance fixing the tax rate for the year 2025. We'll have the introduction of an ordinance establishing compensation for municipal employees for 2025. We'll have the consideration of a resolution authorizing the participation of the municipality in a PA Department of Community and Economic Development local share account statewide grant program. We are making a grant application for $1 million in funds towards the Mount Lebanon Recreation Center accessibility / enhancement project. We will also have the consideration of applications and associated resolutions to approve the submission of the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority Green Revitalization of our Waterways Program. Those are the GROW grant applications that we've submitted every year for the last 9 years, I believe, and adopt those associated resolutions. Those projects will be for Hope Hollow, Scrubgrass, Painters Run, and Castle Shannon Boulevard. They're source flow reduction projects that we need to do in relation to the consent order. And then finally, you'll have the consideration to reject the bid that we received for the North Parking Garage Level 5 vestibule project. That was to enclose the vestibule to try to prolong the life of the elevator. That bid came in significantly over the engineer's estimated cost. So we're going to take a look at it. We may be able to do something in-house because it's really not a very complicated project. So
Great.
we have.
Perfect. Thank you, thank you. Okay, Gateway Engineers, you're up.
How's everybody doing today?
Great, thanks.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to go through and review some of the contracts we have out to bid and just go over a status update of these projects. So we'll review some background on the consent orders in place that lead to that's the why behind a lot of these contracts. We'll review the storm and sanitary O&M contracts throughout the bid, the 2 consent order projects that are out to bid, a brief summary of the CDBG ADA ramp projects, Washington Road Signals project, and the pool filtration system upgrades project. So on the background of these O&M contracts, they're all rooted from the consent order that's in place in the Elk Sand service area, and it's part of the region's long-term planning to improve the sanitary sewer infrastructure. So as part of that, the municipalities are required to complete needed repairs to their systems based on yearly maintenance schedules for their projects. So in the past year, 2024, we bid out the lining contract, manhole rehabilitation contract, backwater valve maintenance, and corrective action repairs project. This upcoming year for the 2025 year, we are advertising for bid the point repairs project, lining, and the CCTV contract from an O&M standpoint. These contracts, most of them include very multi-year options to renew these contracts. And the reason being is it reduces bidding and construction administration costs. And it also ensures contractor consistency over the years, which in turn helps with pricing and quality. And it gives us the option to continue to use them, or, if needed, or if material prices vary, it gives us the option to take advantage of that if needed. And in addition, these contracts are generally repetitive in nature, which makes the multi-year contracts make sense for these. So the first one we have out the bid is the sanitary storm sewer and cleaning and televising contract. each year we televise approximately 10% of the municipal system. And that's driven from the consent order requirements to monitor your system each year. So this contract, we camera lines, we clean them. And this contract's really, it's like the pipeline of repairs, if you will. Like you're getting eyes on the pipes and you're finding defects, and it helps you to plan your future repairs. Additionally, we do additional cleaning on about 20% of the root treatment sewers each year. So what that does is that lets us get more activity on those the lines with root issues. Those tend to have, those are the ones that tend to cause problems. So it gets us in there more frequently and getting eyes on it, and hopefully reduces problems. This one is out for bid as we speak. The bid date for this one is December 3rd. The bid date for all of these contracts as I go through this is December 3rd. So it's the next Tuesday is
Bid opening.
the bid opening, I'm sorry. Yep. And then we'll be able to award that anticipated award in January. Next contract out to bid is the blanket contract for storm and sanitary point repairs. This is your excavation repair, big contracts. We typically do these on an as-needed basis, so we televise pipes, find defects, and then issue work orders to the contractor to repair these lines. This is the bid opening date is December 3rd. And our opinion cost is on there. It's $1 million and $1,063,000.
Josh,
Yes, sir.
I know this, but for our vast viewing audience, this is one of the contracts that we bid as a blanket contract.
Yes.
So can you explain a little bit what that means?
Yeah. So this contract in general, it covers a vast number of bid items in it. So I believe it has roughly 140 to 150 different items. And what that does is that allows us the flexibility to issue work orders to cover various repairs that we might encounter. So whether it's sanitary sewer replacement, storm sewer replacement, repair to inlets, installation of manholes, stuff like that. It allows you the flexibility to complete a majority of various repairs under one contract.
It gives us unit pricing, so then as projects come up that we may not be aware of, we're able to award to have those repairs effected under the blanket contract.
Right, which leads to expedited repairs and getting them done quickly. The next project on here is the root treatment sewers. This one is a renewal project. This is one of the ones with multi-year options. So this one will be a renewal for the 2025 year. It has a contract value of roughly $89,000. And this one, it's a chemical root treatment to the sewers that see high root intrusion into the sewers. So it helps to kill those roots and come out of the system. Manhole rehabilitation. This one is a renewal for the 2025 year as well. Essentially what we're doing is we're going into manholes and doing a cementitious liner into them and replacing the steps, so it improves safety for maintenance personnel to enter the manholes as needed. And it also renews the manhole and reduces infiltration coming into the structure, which ties into the consent order. Backwater valve maintenance, basically the intent of this contract is to reduce backups in the homes. The valves that are part of this only allow one-way flow. So this one is a renewal for the 2025 year. And the anticipated renewal date would be in January, January 28th in here. And the anticipated contract value is $17,000.
These are for backwater valves that we've installed, right?
That's correct. These are ones we've installed, and this covers, if we were to install one on other residents, this contract would cover the maintenance of those.
We reach out to them on an annual basis, let them know they're due for an inspection and annual maintenance and then.
Yep.
Send the contract out.
Yep, it's yearly annual maintenance, and we'll pull the valves out, make sure they work, and if there's repairs that are needed, we'll make those repairs, make sure they're operating effectively. Annual lining contract, we do this one annually. And the reason behind it is typically we have a pretty good scope of work each year that we're building to supplement this contract. There are various work orders we issue throughout the year. If we CCTV lines and we find something with a high priority repair, we'll issue work orders to address those defects. Jet Jack's the current contractor for 2024. Right now, this one's out to bid for the 2025 year. This is anticipated, or this will be opened next Tuesday, December 3rd. The engineer's opinion of cost is approximately 1.3 million for this contract. And this is basically, you're basically you're creating a new pipe within existing pipes without having to dig.
Right.
So it's the optimal repair for most situations. Sanitary consent order. This is a summary of the projects that are currently the contracts are underway right now. In situ Forum is the contractor for the 2024 corrective actions repair project. And this is there's 4 POCs that are addressed with this current contract. The next slide, you'll see that we have an additional 4 POCs that are out in point of connections that are out to bid. So the work is complete on this current contract, and we're working with the contractor. There was actually a little bit of room in the budget, so we were able to assign a couple of lines in nearby locations to get those cleaned up and addressed. But the contract amount for this current year was $2.8 million. And so we'll be wrapping that up here within the next 60 days, I believe. And Grow grant funding does supplement these projects as well.
There was an offset, and Grow Grant said we receive a minimum of 15% of the project cost up to 85%. Is that how that works?
Correct. And I think it was Beg Snyder Park, we actually got a small water grant.
Yeah.
I think that one covered 85%, and the Grow grant actually covered the rest of it.
Yeah.
So the 2025 corrective actions repairs, it's essentially the same scope of work, if you will, on what we're doing this current year. This one covers the remaining 4 point of connections needed to address the current consent order that's in place. So we're out ahead of it, get this bid opening, assuming that we get it awarded, then we're anticipating that we'll be ahead of the race to get all these done. So, the estimated contract amount for this one is approximately $4 million. Grow grant funding does supplement these contracts as well. Beg Snyder Park sanitary sewer repairs. This is part of the source flow reduction project list as well. This is out the bid as we speak. It'll be open next Tuesday. But the project essentially consists of sanitary sewer replacement. There's a section of the line we have to lower because it's exposed in a stream, so that's going to reduce significant amounts of infiltration, concrete encasement, and replacement of some of the manholes, replacement and rehab of some of the manholes. This one did receive significant grant funding. I believe that it's essentially 100% covered between the small water and sewer grant and the Grow 9 grant. The community development block grant, the ADA ramps. These are projects that we do every year, and for the schedules are a little bit confusing on these. This is the 2024 ADA ramp project. It'll be built in 2025, the way the schedules work. So it's a little bit, it's kind of confusing to follow. But the majority of these ramps, all of these ramps actually are there along Bower Hill Road. So where we're at in the process is we have these ramps designed, we have the specifications prepared. Shaycog will reach out and facilitate the bidding process for these projects. And I believe we have the resolution approved on this one, and that's ready to go for when they request that.
In order to submit, so yes.
Yeah. The budget amount for this one is $50,700 with CDBG funds at approximately $22,800. Then we have the 2025 ADA ramp projects, which would be built in 2026. This covers the remaining ramps along Bower Hill up to Washington Road. So that'll give us a good clean slate along that roadway for when that goes to the road program. So there's 5 ramps included on this one. The estimated cost for this project is around $48,000, and the anticipated funding is around $20,000 for this one. Washington Road signal equipment upgrades. This one is essentially a project to improve pedestrian signal system upgrades and detection loops. And I believe there's a piece of camera improvements as well. So the upgrades include a total of 9 separate intersections along Washington Road. The total cost of this project is estimated to be $612,000. There's 80% grant funding from Green Lake Grow that's supplementing this project cost. And the local match is 20%.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is what I think goes on with the lights, what I understand goes on with the lights, and I could be incorrect, so feel free to correct me if I am wrong. But my understanding is that when a pedestrian pushes the button to cross the street, that it won't activate it until a car comes up from the opposing on the road. I'm not gonna explain this well, I'm sorry. Here's Alfred Street, here's Washington Road, okay? When you push the button to cross Washington Road, it's waiting for a car to come up on Alfred Street before it actually turns. And then it allows the pedestrian sign to cross to precede the change of light on Alfred, so that we have the person in the crosswalk and get given the right of way before they actually make it across. Is that the way these are gonna operate as well when you upgrade them? Is that the, Rudy?
Can I answer?
Oh, yeah, please. Okay.
Okay. Now, these are audible, so these will
Oh.
tell people with visual
Okay.
impairments that it's safe to cross.
Okay,
You're right in the sense that there's an advance on Washington Road, so it
Yeah.
allows the pedestrian to proceed before the green light for the side streets. The main streets all automatically go with the pedestrian, so when Washington Road is green and traffic is traveling north and
Yes.
south, you automatically get a pedestrian call. You won't get a pedestrian call off the side streets unless you activate it with the button. But it doesn't wait for a car.
okay,
It will, the timing
Go with the
allows
button.
for the button to override that system, correct?
all right, great, thank you, that's very helpful, I appreciate it.
My question relating to anybody, do a quick read of this says, includes installing radar detection. We've talked many times about,
Right.
well, we don't
Cameras.
have,
The radar, can I answer that?
I was gonna ask you.
The radar detection is for vehicle detection. So the old loop systems were the magnetic loops that were in the ground.
Right.
We have a second generation of cameras, the video detection, which is outdated now, and it's not supported. So that's being replaced with radar detection. There was also a microwave detection at one point in time, but the radars actually detect the vehicles in the zones that are much more accurate.
It's sensing.
It's not a speed radar, it's not a speed radar, and the video,
Can we, give me the things to.
Flatten tires.
They don't work that way. It's just a detection. It's a switch
Yeah.
basically. So when it detects something in that zone, it triggers the system.
Yeah.
Kind of like sonar. Yes, there's something there.
Correct. That's correct. That's exactly
Well,
right.
it used to be you had to pull up to a line, and if you didn't do the line, it wouldn't activate.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is a little more accurate. That's great, thank you. Very interesting. Worth the money in my book. Cool.
So the anticipated bid opening date for this one is January 7th. Which would allow us to award that following meeting.
For the pool filtration.
No,
I'm
Washington
sorry.
Road.
Washington Road.
I skipped ahead, sorry.
But yeah, this is the only one that's different from the other ones.
Okay.
And then we have the pool filtration project, which includes demo and replacement of the pool filtration system, installation of surge tank, liquid chlorine tanks, minor renovations to the building. The designer for this project is Councilman Hunsaker. The estimated cost is approximately $761,000. This bid opening will take place on Tuesday of next week with an anticipated award date of December 10th.
Great.
No, I say it every time. It's not a person.
If you worry, Commissioner Flynn would be a nice name for that company. The commission will see agenda items for all of these depending on where we get bids in. You know, either a recommendation to award or potentially a recommendation to reject if, you know, all of the bids or none of the bids are within what we feel is
Right,
acceptable from a budget standpoint. Excellent.
thank you.
That's good.
Thanks. No,
Thank you.
all set.
Thank you.
Oh, fee schedule is next, Andrew.
Me.
Yeah,
I brought this one back because we had some conversation when we did the original presentation, specifically related to the proposed increase for the overnight
parking.
permit parking that we provide for, and I think Commissioner Grillo had requested some data that we provided, so I just wanted to, again, have the conversation again and try to reach a determination onto what the acceptable number is for that fee. All right.
That's
Exactly it.
perfect.
I can't remember.
Can't say it
the-
any better.
What was the exact numbers doing?
So it was 200, what was in the fee schedule was $210 every 6 months, so $35 a month.
Mhm.
I think one of the points that I would like to make is that, you know, this is more competitive with those buildings, especially in those that are in apartment buildings that
Yes.
have parking.
Yes,
That we're not then punishing those that have provided parking for, you know, and being less competitive in the market and kind of standardizing that is the price of rent is including parking. For those that already have structures available, for them, that we're not the bargain basement option and doesn't incentivize those to not make improvements to their property for parking and so forth. As you can see, when we first put in the overnight parking ordinance, if you looked on Shady Drive West, there was east, west, which one's near the building? West, east, west, thank you. You know, they've improved a lot of their access and areas to their garages and things like that. So it's just really trying to standardize, get it to more of a market rate for those that are then including
Right.
parking as part of their rent included. So that was just another point that I think parking enforcement really noticed in some of the appeals and things they heard on the from property owners and things like that, you know, to standardize it to a more competitive rate, so.
I think at the time we had landlords, when we were considering this in 2019, I guess it was, there were some landlords who came in when we were talking about the change in enforcement, who said people stopped buying. Some landlords, we had done a full list calling landlords and checking prices of some of the rental places. Some of them are baked into the rent, some of them have surface lots, they charge $100 a month, whatever. And some of the landlords that came in for public comment said people stopped buying the parking permits. Because Cause it wasn't being enforced.
Wasn't being enforced.
Oh.
So they were just parking on the street and not.
Or they were just requesting and requesting and there was no limit,
Right.
right? You could
Right.
request every night,
Right.
park right outside your.
We had
Some
this,
that had
yeah, we
3,000.
had this in Ward 3 recently and Chief Haberman helped by seeing that it was enforced. We had somebody that took people parking because they didn't want to pay for it in their apartment buildings.
Mhm.
You have to enforce it.
And I'll give Mark Quealy some kudos because Mark and I interact frequently on requests for overnight apartment parking. And there have been on more than one occasion, Mark has come to me and said he's got a request for a resident, usually in a multifamily. And, you know, my first question back to Mark always is, have we reached out to either the building owner or the property manager to determine whether or not there is available
Right.
off-site parking? And I'm gonna tell you that in probably more than 50% of those cases, there is, but it's more expensive than our on-street space. So in those cases, we deny that application because the intent is not to, you know, provide cheaper parking than the property owner. So.
So these spots here, so Baywood is a problem parking area. Wisteria is a problem. Levine is a problem. Maybrick's a problem. Penmont, McCully, Shady Drives. Those are ones where there are issues. Lemoyne is not, they actually have a driveway too. Hazel's not a problem. Most of the ones, Ashland is not a problem to my knowledge. I don't think 345 is on the high side. Broadmoor's not an issue.
Well, there's a spot up at the end of where Hazel and Ashland come together where we have a little lot. where they
Yeah.
can Park.
That
They
is,
have to buy a permit for it, but there is one,
yeah,
because some of them don't have driveways.
Yeah, there's some down there.
Yeah,
yeah.
not very many, but there are a few.
So I guess the question was with the change in price. So these parking permits here, the ones, what I was trying to determine is which one of these are people that have, like, what were their issues, right? Like, are these people requesting parking because they're not close to we've got 30 here, they're not close, like the ordinance was you have to be within 1/8 of a mile to a parking spot, and if you're not, then you could apply for, a special permit, and then we made it relatively lenient so the manager could approve a special permit if there was a special
There's an
circumstance.
extenuating circumstance, so that, let's say that you have the ability to construct off-street parking on your property.
Yeah.
Right? I'm able to issue that special permit for the period of 1 year to give you the time to find a contractor to have the off-street parking constructed on your own property, so that you then have somewhere to park without getting ticketed every night. That's a lot of these, as you've correctly identified, are in areas where we've got a lot of multifamily development. There are some single families here that do not have
Yeah.
off-street parking. So, yeah, there are, there are not many, but there are some.
There are some.
But I guess my question is, so we're raising the fee for this special zone. My comment was the special zone is a situation where people have a really tough time parking or don't have any parking at all. And my question was, why would we want to raise the fee for those people?
And I think he answered it by saying, because we don't want to compete.
But those are people that aren't going to compete because they don't have parking options.
That's one aspect of it. I think the other aspect that I had mentioned at the first meeting was, I think it really standardizes it for us across the board of an asset of what we're enforcing and the things we do and the assets we're doing to where our lots are $38. Right, $38 a month. So we're more in line and we're not incentivizing more and more to being the cheapest option is actually parking in one of these zones. That we looked, it appears to be more of a standardization of rate across the board. As opposed to, because the enforcement and time and effort that goes into a zone versus a lot is somewhat different, but is equally time consuming.
But you have to qualify to have a zone.
a zone, but not necessarily, so you can apply to be in the zone. It's really the establishment of the zone that, so like if I want a permit on Lavina, if the zone is established and there's an available permit, you can apply and get that permit. Right? And I could,
Yeah,
Yeah, and
there's no, it's really for the application of the zone, not necessarily the car that's parking within the zone. The initial establishment of the zone.
just point of clarification, hopefully. To qualify for a special permit space, if you're less than the distance prescribed in the ordinance for a public parking solution, you have to go to public parking solution.
No, you don't
You
mean
get
that.
it, you don't mean
Right.
that.
Right.
We have two different permits. We have a permit parking zone, which are only for multifamilies, right? Special permit spaces are for, say, single-family residential properties. So one's more directed towards a commercial, one's more directed towards a residential, if that makes sense. So, whether or not there's a,
And there's time constraints on the special permit space as well. Whereas there's an establishment of a zone as opposed to a space, and there's
right.
subject to review as opposed to a zone.
none of them let you park there overnight when we're forecasting for an inch of
Right.
snowfall or more.
Right.
So,
I understand what you're saying. I guess we have to disagree. I just don't, I feel like it's tacking on a fee for something that, when we separated those, we put fees in place partially because of the administrative part of it. So I do acknowledge that. But there are certain types of permits that we're putting there for convenience of either the businesses or the residents. It's not really a money thing.
No, it's not.
How are we all feeling here?
Well, Commissioner Grella seemed to be the one to have the questions, so I'm kind of going, want to make sure he answered all the questions. I'm comfortable with what we proposed earlier, but I
Okay.
want to make sure Commissioner Grella.
Andrew,
Fine as it is.
okay? Are you all right, Craig, or do you have any more questions about it?
No, questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Andrew. The fire training center.
well, and the public works storage building. mean,
And I know,
feels
how could I
like-
leave
Yeah.
that?
My part's pretty boring.
I do want you to know that I got a complaint today about this.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. I was
Okay.
walking down the street with a neighbor's dog and someone pulled up and said, you know, I never complain. And I thought, but if you're gonna do it now. He did.
Find that hard to believe?
And it was because of
Smoke.
no, it was because the doors aren't in on the doors building, right?
His thing was the smoke and he felt you could smell the smoke when you drove by it. And I said, well, I haven't heard any other complaints. I'll let you know if we hear more. So I'm reporting the complaint. There you go. You've got it now.
Thank you.
You have it.
Well, hopefully tonight we'll allay
Yeah.
some of those
Great.
concerns and kind of jump right in here. Manager McGill had asked Rudy and I to kind of give you an update on this overall project. As we're all aware, this project started this year. Well, the planning and the desire, especially on the fire training side, started probably 50+ years ago. So it's quite an accomplishment for the municipality. In putting together an effort to try to come up with a dedicated training fire facility, we identified the location down at Public Works, and with the assistance of Rudy, came up with an overall plan to not only have the fire training facility down there, but also provide the storage building that's currently being built down there for seasonal storage, and Rudy will discuss a little bit further as we get into it here. From a status standpoint, where we're at right now, storage building is in place. Rudy, you want to touch anything with that?
Just, it's really just a cold storage building, so we plan to store plows, seasonal equipment, some leaf equipment, spreaders and so forth. We do have the installation of a crane that'll be in there. Before we did the renovation a few years ago, the other part of the facility, we did have a structure that had a trolley crane inside of it. So we were able to lift the boxes off of the leaf trucks. We were able to lift on and off the salt spreaders. They're pretty heavy and awkward to handle. So it was a chain fall basically, and we were able to mount them up on the trucks, at the rear of the trucks. The tailgates have to come off when we're doing leaf collection. So then those tailgates have to go back on. So it's one of those finger pinch moments that you have to be real careful with. And when you have a crane, it's so much easier to do. So
And this building's much taller, using
It
that up
is.
space.
it is, and this will be an electric crane, so you don't have to crank the chain. And we'll be able to trolley it back, and we plan on building a rack system in the back where we can store all these things neatly and in a smaller space instead of them being just jumbled all over the place. So that's what it's really all for. It's to be safer, more efficient, and give us a space to store these things that we only use 3-4 months out of the year.
Less cold storage when you actually put the doors on.
Well, that's true. That's true. So yeah, we're at a point where, within the next 2 weeks, I'm told by the engineer that the contractor will have the garage door contractor in. We're out right now for RFQs for the electric installation. For the lighting, we broke it up. We're gonna do a sub panel in there, run the electric for the lighting, run the electric for the crane system, and then we will, we also put an alternate in, requested an alternate for the RFQ for the lights. If the bid comes in a little bit, if the quote comes in a little bit higher, we give ourselves the option to purchase them and install them ourselves. So we left a little wiggle room there for that.
Seriously, we do have some cold weather coming up. If we do get snow, are you able to, even though it's not done, utilize that building, or you just
We were,
keep it empty until it's?
yeah, it'll probably be empty until we actually take the salt spreaders off the trucks. Now, we have 8 of the smaller trucks will be transferring the leaf boxes off of 4 trucks after we finish the routes on Saturday and start cleaning those up, doing all the preventative the constant maintenance and cleanup and everything, installing the tailgates, installing the spreaders on the bigger trucks, because we only use the larger trucks for the leaf collection process the vast majority of the time unless it gets really rainy. And those trucks will be outfitted with the snow fighting equipment. So yeah, we'll do that as we've been doing it the last couple of years, and this will just make it easier and more efficient and safer for the guys when we go to do that.
Great.
The fire training facility, status right now is it is complete and currently in use. Our staff has been trained by the vendor, and been signed off, and the building's been turned over to us. So we are fully functional and, have already had, 4 trainings down there, three days of burning, and I'll touch on the burning side of it here in a little bit. Overall, the overall project was 1.475 million. As you're fully aware, there was tremendous offsets here for the cost of this project. Thanks to Senator Fontana and Representative Miller, we were able to get that $621,300 from the County Gaming and Economic Development and Tourism Fund grant. It's a mouthful. I'm surprised that's not an acronym because governments love acronyms.
Even that would be a mouthful.
Yeah, absolutely. The $200,000 from Representative Miller, and then the $100,000 that was pledged by the volunteer fire company for the project. Just a quick little overview. So just to level set everyone, the kind of the lay of the land. This is the Public Works Yard, Cedar Boulevard's there labeled in front of us. The Lindendale entrance off to the side there, off to the right. The training facility is appropriately in that red box. The green box is the storage building, and the white box in between the two is the current existing building that's already there on site. Facility itself, speaking of a mouthful, the full name of the project or the training building itself is the Draeger Swede Survival Phase 2 Training System. One of the benefits of going with this system is it is a modular design. It represents a significantly cheaper way to build a training facility than the traditional concrete and block that is used in many training grounds. It allows for a custom build that is specific to our needs, given the space that we had to work with down there, the area that we were working within, and the size of our department and other things. We were able to right size this building for exactly what we want to use it for. They build buildings all over the country, quite frankly, all over the world. They've got probably one of the largest ones at the Fire Academy down in Tampa, Florida, which ours is 6 containers, the one down there, I believe, is 37. So it gives you an idea of just how big these things can get.
Yeah.
The
Curious,
nice,
37, is it this way? Is it 5 stories? I'm just curious.
yes.
Oh, okay, all right, that's curious.
One of the neat things that they did with it, not get into too much detail, but one of the neat things that they've done, and it gives you an idea of how customizable these things can be, is they turned a container on its side and created an elevator shaft
Oh, wow.
out of
Very
it
cool.
for training.
Very
So,
cool.
so in a city like Tampa has a lot of elevators,
Yeah.
so they use it in their training academy to train on elevators in
Very
that
cool.
setting, which was really kind of a neat,
Yeah.
a neat way to kind of come up with a new training one. They built this thing completely off-site. The Rademacher, manufacturer that works with Draeger to build these is up in Sharon, PA, just outside of Sharon, so a little bit, about an hour or so away from us. They take it all apart, ship it on the back of trucks, and then reassemble it at the final location. So it's a completely modular process. The other big benefit is we have the ability to add, modify, replace modules as needed. So over time, if there's something with a module gets damaged or needs to be replaced, it's a relatively easy process as opposed to having to design an entire new building if we have problems. Overall benefits, I know I've talked a lot about this during the justification phase, but just to kind of revisit some of these. The biggest benefit for us is just more efficient training and our ability to eliminate the need to have to drive up to North Park. We would spend a lot of time, and the number one thing we hear from our volunteers and quite frankly, our career staff too in today's society, don't waste our time. And 45-minute to an hour drive back and forth can be detrimental to our folks. So that's one of the huge benefits to have it here. We also have the ability to do realistic training. As we shared with you early on in this project, a lot of our work was done in parking lots, parking garages, buildings that would either be donated or property owners would allow us to use when they were planning to tear them down, but it was kind of hit or miss at best. So this allows us to have a little bit more realistic training on a continual basis. There's several props built into the system already, which really does help from a safety standpoint, that it's specifically designed to do what it's meant to do, and we're not kind of engineering it on the fly as we go, so to speak. As I mentioned, the flexible layout, it really is designed in a way that as needs evolve, we can grow, the system can grow with us and grow with our department. And we are going to make it available for use with other SHACOG departments, because this is truly a regional asset. One of our main concerns with this facility is we want to be a good neighbor to the area, and we do acknowledge the fact that as we heard that there are challenges when you have a training facility like this in a town like Mount Lebanon. We had fairly limited areas where we could put something like this. These are often placed far away in fields far off in the distance. We don't have that luxury here in town. So in an effort to try to maintain neighborly relations here, we are going to be very strict about how we operate this. The hours of operation, we will not begin before 8:30 a.m. and we will be done by 9:30 p.m. Using the facility, the Mount Lebanon Fire Department, we're going to be using this to be the #1 user. Obviously, it's right here in our hometown. We do training on every third Monday from 8 a.m. to noon for our career staff, our officer corps. Not all of the training will be down there, not all 12 trainings, but we will on occasion be down there using that for certain skills. We also have our Monday night drills, which is every Monday night with the exception of the first Monday of the month. Again, we will not be down there every single Monday, but we will be using it during those times. The SHACOG recruit training program is something that Mount Lebanon is heavily involved with, and we serve as the primary training site for SHACOG departments through the area. So a lot of the practical skill stations will be using that facility. Not all, but quite a few. Most of those, almost all, quite frankly, will be Saturdays. And not all Saturdays, but the periodic Saturdays. So it won't be, shouldn't expect that every single Saturday we'll have folks down there. We're working with our mutual aid partners. More often than not, when we work with our mutual aid partners, they'll be in conjunction with us. It's one of the benefits of us being able to train together. And then as I mentioned before, other SHACOG fire departments as they request. With regards to, and I'll talk a little bit more about the live fire side here in a second, but just to be clear, much of this training, actually the vast majority of this training that I just discussed will not involve live fire. That will be much more the exception than the rule. Again, because we want to make sure that we don't create any issues in the neighborhood. In order to support the work that Rudy needs to do with regards to this time of year with leaves, the winter with snow removal and other things. As you know, that area kind of necks down. We will maintain access to both entrances at all times. We won't have anything closed down there. And then from a security standpoint, because anyone that was a 13-year-old in their lifetime can I'm sure could agree that this looks like a giant jungle gym. So we have all doors are chained and locked, all windows on the first level are secured, so there's really no way to get inside this building. Unless you're really determined. But for the most part, it's a very secure building. It's also very well lit down there, which was very nice. We weren't too sure how well the lighting was going to work out, but once we took a look at it, it's actually really good lighting down there. So I mentioned the live fire training, that is a feature of this building. I put down here, I'm being probably overstating the number, but a maximum of 6 times per year. So kind of once every other month. The reality is I envision this at least for the first year. I see probably a springtime and in the fall, we'd be doing something maybe one more time outside of that area. One of the concerns that we have, again, with the smoke issues is I don't want to be down there and burning when it's a beautiful spring day when everybody wants to open their windows for obvious reasons. So some of it's going to be weather dependent. We're also going to be very cognizant with meeting the NFPA 1403 standard, which is a standard put together by National Fire Protection Association for live fire training, and it dictates a lot of safety measures and health and wellness type factors, as well as training requirements and things like that, and the Pennsylvania State Fire Academy guidelines. We have a number of state fire academy instructors in our career staff that will largely serve as instructors when we do have those burns here in town.
I appreciate the comment you made about trying to avoid quote, open window days. So thank you.
We do have required to have a burn permit with the Allegheny County Health Department. That is an annual permit that we apply for, and we adhere to all their requirements for burning. One of the big things is we are going to be very flexible with rescheduling should we have an issue with atmospheric conditions. The weather turning sideways on us, because we're in a valley and we get that weather where that smoke just wants to hang in that space, we're going to be very cognizant of that. And people will know that if we got a Saturday we're planning on burning, that there is a chance that Saturday may not be this Saturday, it may be next Saturday. So that's going to be part of the process.
Appreciated by all of us that have asthma that was probably caused by air pollution.
Yeah.
And really prove it.
Absolutely. We do send out a letter to all of our residents within 400 feet, roughly. We extended a little bit in certain areas to make sure we capture the best group of folks to be notified prior to training. The dates are posted on our website, and thanks to Laura and her team, social media and LEBO alerts are out to notify the community. We found that to be really effective last week with the amount of burning we were doing, hence why we only got a couple inquiries regarding what we were doing. So I think that was a real positive for us. The facility goes up. I know we're almost out of time here, so I'll go through these pretty quickly. But as I mentioned, it's a modular type building. They showed up here on day one on Monday with a big old crane and a bunch of trucks come rolling through, and they just lifted stuff and bolted and welded stuff in place. It was actually a pretty impressive process. facility, now that it's done, on the left-hand side there, that is an actual picture of the facility. It looks an awful lot like the artist renderings that were done, but that is the, that's the, right, I believe I took that on Thursday morning, right after they finished most of the assembly. So that's the front of the building there on the left. In the center is the rear of the building. And then on the far end there on the right is the other end of the building, kind of give you an idea kind of how that looks. It is a 4-story building, 4 containers high. The burn chamber itself is on that second floor. If you look at the picture on the left, that yellow ramp there that's coming off the side, that's actually for the burn room clean out. As I mentioned, some of the props, some of these may be a little bit difficult to see. The top left picture is a rope tie-off for rappelling type activities and bailouts for our technical rescue teams. We have confined space abilities to work in there. Down below, we had a hydrant installed specifically for this that allows us to have the water supply we need to do burning.
Can we get that asphalted in? Rudy,
What?
that hydrant? Yeah, so see where we have that dirt?
Oh, yeah.
Can we asphalt that?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. It's gonna be a hot mess otherwise.
That's just grass seed or?
Yeah.
Is that what they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be mud.
Yeah, lots of wood.
Next season, once.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not saying right now.
Yeah, I understand.
The picture on the top center there is actually from inside the burn room looking out. The room below it, although it looks like a sequel to Silence of the Lambs. That is actually the burn chamber. The burn chamber has some chains. We use OSB board in order to actually create the conditions of a working fire. The barrel you see in that picture is actually what's used to start that fire. The back doors there you see as you look into that space, those back doors are what lead out and onto that yellow ramp there on the side. And then the far picture again is just another anchor point for some technical rescue stuff. These are not ads from the company. This is actually photos taken inside on the day of training when we were working with the Draeger folks, and we are now fully operational. The system works really well. We will be spending the next year, quite frankly, learning the building, developing, training plans and learning how the building works and behaves and that as we continue to grow with it. But it's a tremendous asset for our folks. I can't tell you how many of our volunteers that they're like, what do you mean we're not gonna burn this again? We want to burn on Wednesday. But no, we gotta hold off a little bit, but everybody's very excited about this. So it's a tremendous asset and, I can't thank the commission enough for your support through this project. And turn it over to Rudy to talk about your building, unless you got anything else.
No, I'm good. Any questions?
It's like a metal building.
Yeah.
That'll go.
Mhm.
And we're not planning on burning anything inside of that one.
That's good. Good. I'm glad about that. Thanks.
What's that?
Oh, yes, thank you, Laura. You've all been invited, just as a reminder, on the 2nd of December, which is 1 week from yesterday. At 3 p.m., we are doing the ribbon cutting down at the location. You're gonna want to be there because it's not gonna be a true ribbon cutting. It's gonna be much, much cooler. So I'll just leave it at that.
You like use fire to cut the ribbon?
That's even a better idea.
was like-
Ideas. I got turned down on all my.
Remember selling torch?
Oh, gosh. Great. Thank you very much, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you.
That's December 2nd, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Monday, December 2nd at 3 p.m. All right, I think we have to adjourn to go to the commission meeting. So boards and authorities next time. Marvelous.